graduated college in 1999. My first few years was working in the internet space, or 5 years. And my first job was at 24/7 Media during the dot-com bubble. Parties, it was amazing. And then, of course, the bubble burst, and then the stock went down, and things changed pretty fast. So I went, and I was in sales. So I went from 3 sales jobs in my first couple of years, and then I was a real estate broker. When I became a real estate broker, I actually really enjoyed the process of learning how to take that exam and actually taking the exam. And that was the first time, and by the way, all my dad ever wanted me to do was become a lawyer. So of course it was the last thing I wanted to do. Plus I had no interest in personal injury law. But when I took that test, like 4 years after school, I said, you know, I sort of enjoy this. Maybe there is something there. So that was one. But two, what I found was I was just a salesperson, and I knew I was smart, but I knew I didn't really have a skill. Like, I'm a sales guy, and I just was trying to look to my future, and I didn't want to be in sales for the next 20 years, going from job to job every 2 to 3 years, growing salary. I wanted to be a professional. I wanted to have a career, and that's where probably the unknown mentorship from my dad came in, where I just wanted to have a career. So then I got into law school, and then what happened in law school was, you know, I always read entrepreneur books. Never really started anything, but I always had that book by my side. And my dad had the TV show Lawline, so I wasn't intimidated by that. And I tried to do these networking groups in school, and I was rejected. So I said, why am I going to do a moot court, which is one of the things, when I'll start my own thing. And I think it was Rich Dad Poor Dad was where I drew the line. I loved the book, really inspired me. The only thing about it is it didn't tell me how to start a business. He never really talked about how he started his wallet business or whatever. He just talked about the quadrants. And so I felt empty afterwards. I'm like, well, I don't know what to do with any of this. So I said, why don't I learn from entrepreneurs on the front line? I started interviewing entrepreneurs. I started a public access TV show called True NYC, and I put them all online. I was one of the first online websites that interviewed entrepreneurs. And so long story short, I ended up getting in touch with a web development company. My dad already had a site that they'd built, but they pretty much closed the company down. I decided my second year of law school, I knew there was an opportunity. There's 1 million lawyers in the country. The site had 15 courses on it. It was making a couple $1,000s a month. Nothing really, but nobody was touching it. I'm like, a site that makes money without anyone touching it, could you imagine if someone put all their energies into it? And I started to just restart the company, or start a new company and build that brand. And I remember my dad sitting down with my dad, and he's like, well, how are you going to support yourself? And thinking I was crazy. You know, making very clear, you just went through law school, you got to support yourself. So I gave it a shot, and it worked out really well. And I guess what I realized, I didn't want to be a lawyer. I interned at different experiences, different jobs. One of them I didn't like, and I told him I wasn't going to be continuing through the school year. And he berated me so much in his office and tore me apart. When I left, I was actually crying. And I realized, I said, you know, being a lawyer is just like any other job, except you're a lawyer, but you still have to work yourself up. And I'm like, I don't want to have to start from the bottom, and build myself up and deal with people like that ever again. And that's where I just sort of closed that chapter and moved on and put all my eggs in the Lawline basket.